Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on logosynthesis to help set healthy boundaries. So my name is Giulia Bavagnoli. I don't know a lot of you, which is great. I'm a counselor and trainer, and I'm a practitioner in logosynthesis. And we will explore this topic, which is pretty dear to my heart in my counseling practice. We will also see how logosynthesis can help, and we're going to see this in a guided exercise. So we're going to do a demonstration, a group demonstration. Then we can see the benefits of logosynthesis, and you can ask questions if you like at the end. So let's start with the definition. What are healthy boundaries and why are they important? Just to be very direct, a healthy boundary is whatever allows us to preserve our integrity. Integrity in terms of physical integrity, our body. Integrity in terms of value or values. So value is our own value. How do we perceive our value, and how do we live by our value, and also what is important to us, our values. Just a second, Reginald. Can you please mute yourself? I don't know if you can, because otherwise, thank you. And integrity also in terms of energy, of course. If we don't have enough energy to go on with our life, it's pretty complicated. And of resources, speaking really of material resources, what is allowing us to live daily. And we are definitely talking about money also here. So I like to use this metaphor of a castle. So we can think of ourselves as a castle, not only the building, of course, but all the people living inside, and our boundaries would be represented by the walls of the castle. But it is really important to focus as well on the balance between in and out, and the balance of the castle begins within the castle. So let's say that in the castle there are I don't know, a queen and a king, and a lot of people are participating in the life of this castle and in the good functioning of this castle. And it's not really a matter of walls or frontiers or strong and solid boundaries. It's more a matter of what do I let in and what do I let out. In the example of the castle, a castle cannot survive if there is too few people working on, I don't know, producing food, for example, or it cannot survive if there are too many internal conflicts, and so on and so on. So in this metaphor, we can perceive ourselves as a system, a body, not just a physical body, but let's say a system with different subsystems that need to cooperate and need to be in balance. And healthy boundaries start within us. They start in our mind, they start in our self-care, they start in our knowing what is important for us, and hence what is acceptable for us or not. And we need really to understand that this is different for everyone and each one of us. So my healthy boundaries won't be the same as yours healthy boundaries, okay? So, yep. Why are they important? Well, if our integrity is compromised, then we don't have a solid base for interfacing with the world. It is quite as simple as that. If we don't have energy, then we cannot work. We cannot be with our children in a way that is satisfying for us. We may burn out if we dissipate our energy in ways that are not aligned with the quantity of our energy that is present and the way we want to employ our energy. Our relationships may be biased on the assumption that the other needs to complete us, because we cannot do that ourselves if our integrity is compromised, or if we don't take care of our integrity ourselves. And most of all, I guess we may miss out what's important to us in life. As we will see in the next 1 or 2 slides, taking care of our integrity and what's important to us, our value, our resources, is really the base to enjoying what makes sense for us as well. So we might ask, what prevents us from setting these healthy boundaries? In all cases, it has to do with our self-esteem and how we build our self-esteem, but we can go and see more specifics, the strategies and the mechanism that we developed in order to be okay with the image that we built in our early days, early years. So maybe you are familiar with drivers, maybe you are not, but they come from transactional analysis. And there are 5 of them. And drivers are what motivates us, what motivates our behavior at a certain point in our lives. We may develop them in a very young age. And if we don't become aware of those and how they basically run our life, then we can go on and have them until the day we die. So be perfect is one driver. When we try to be perfect, then we spend, for example, speaking of what we said about integrity, we spend a lot of energy on details and a lot of mental energy as well. So it must be perfect. When we please others, well, then by definition, we take the priority, we put the priority on other people's needs. And then we take care of that and we just forget ourselves. When we try hard, there is no place for us or for just resting. When we hurry up, that's the same. We don't really have the capacity to or the ability to be mindful of our own rhythm if we just need to hurry up. And when we have a driver, be strong, well, in that case as well, we cannot be aware of what's really going on for us. And we cut out any kind of other feeling that is not following this be strong driver. We might have fear of rejection or to be judged. What would happen if I dare to say no to this person or not right now? What would happen if I say to my boss, this is too much workload for me. I'm not going to take it. I'm overwhelmed. And we also may have fear of the emotional reaction of the other. This may speak more to some people than others, but it can happen that, okay, how is this person going to react when I say no, when I say that is not acceptable for me, for example. So as I was saying, it has to do with our self-esteem, the image that we build of each other. Mm-hmm. How do we know that we are not respecting our boundaries? So since you're here, I guess that you are somehow at least intrigued by the subject, and probably also you are experiencing in your life some limitation in this subject. So I would like for you to share in the chat some examples that come from your own life when you are not respecting your boundaries or when you are observing that your boundaries are not respected. Can you do that for me? It will be very interesting. Yeah, I won't read them out loud because this is recorded, so you can, of course, this remains confidential here, and in the recording, the chat is not visible, but it's really, yes, it's really interesting to see how this shows up in your life. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So there is frequently this dynamic where we give a lot and we expect the other to give as at least the same amount of what we give, and we are very often disappointed because it's not a random thing that we choose someone to whom we tend to give a lot. These are people who tend to take a lot and not give a lot in return, which is fine. There is no judgment here. It's just the dynamics are very well. They can go together very well. And when that happens, yeah, we do feel resentment because we have the impression to give so much in exchange for something else which doesn't come, of course. Yeah, and feeling depleted. Yes, of course, because when we are not used to simply be aware of our own boundaries, what is right for us, what is correct for us, simply, you know, when you wake up and you go to work, and maybe you are not aware of the period of the day when you are the most productive and the periods where the day when you are not most productive, and you start pushing and pushing and pushing, even if it's not the right time, that can deplete you very, very quickly. So awareness of our own rhythm, of our own limitations, and what's important for us is the base to have a balance in this area. Thank you for sharing. So here are some examples of how we know that we are not respecting our boundaries. We tend to say yes when we want to say no, and every time we say yes, and I really wish I'd said no, but that's too late. I need to take to comply to my word. We don't have a lot of energy. We might feel depleted indeed. We don't have clarity on what's important to us or on how we function simply. We may struggle to decide. How can we decide clearly with clarity and determination if we don't know what's important to us, and if we don't know if we have energy for it, and if we don't know our rhythm? We are making compromises to adjust to other people's demands. Um, Here I was writing a post on LinkedIn about this, and also taking this castle metaphor, and I was being pretty radical, saying you cannot make compromise when it gets to this topic. It's like we are in a castle and there is an army at the door, and if you want to protect your balance and your system, you won't just say, okay, I will just open a little bit the door so some parts of the army may enter and destroy, but just a little bit. It doesn't make any sense. It's a bit absurd to think of that as a viable option if you want, of course, if you want to protect your ecosystem, right? So it's really black or white here. So when we are making compromises, we are always letting us down somehow. And simply we are not living the life we want. Yeah. Why? You can use the chat to answer this question as well. When you were a child, was the appreciation of who you are conditional or unconditional in your perception? And it is important that I say in your perception because, so you don't understand. So would you, when you were a child, did you feel appreciated no matter what? Or you felt that in order to feel appreciated, there were some conditions that needed to be there? For example, you needed to be a good kid in school, have nice grades, behave correctly, be polite, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? So I was saying, I say in our perception because we might perceive our appreciation as conditional when we observe the way our parents or our the people who were there for us reacted to our presence and our interaction with them. It doesn't mean that we were not loved or appreciated, but somehow we might have perceived that this appreciation was conditional. We then try to comply to expectations. Why? Because we cannot survive. Emmanuel, can I ask you to mute yourself, please? Thank you. We cannot survive without our parents or the people who take care of us. So it's pretty simple. In order to be in relationship with them, in order to be taken care of, we decide, and of course it's completely unconscious, we decide to comply to expectations. What happens then? Compliance implies that we disconnect from our internal markers meaning how I feel, what I feel, how I know what is good and right for me. And we tune to external markers, what will make me appreciated in this context. And it might indeed be different from context to context. And as soon as we do that, we start basing our value on our level of compliance. If I comply or when I comply, I think greatly of myself because that's what I'm observing outside. The only problem is that to do that, we split our energy because we're not here to comply with some external variable. We are here to be who we are. So if we disconnect from internal markers and we tune to external markers, we decide in that moment, unconsciously, of course, that some parts of us are not okay, and some parts of us are better if we hide them out, and we just split our energy in this way. Poof. How logosynthesis can help? Well, if you are a little bit familiar with logosynthesis, and even if you are not, I'm telling you now, logosynthesis is a model, is an energy model, and it can help us take in this energy, this split energy back. So it is available again. There is energy bound in our representation of who we are, of our value, on our right to what we feel is right for us. So it is probably a good idea if I look at. Okay, we have a lot of time actually. That's great. I will guide you through an exercise, and I would like you first to think a moment and identify in which context you struggle the most to set healthy boundaries. It might be family, it might be work, it might be self-care, it might be relationships, friendship in general. And maybe you can write in the chat so we can have a little survey. Okay. Yeah. 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 So one comment makes me think of this self-esteem matter. Self-esteem is basically how do we perceive our value? Do we, first of all, perceive that we have value and that our value is infinite and that we do have value just because we exist? Or do we link our value to some other conditions as it was when we were younger? So when we don't perceive our value, it is pretty logical. It is pretty logical that we don't put something in place in order to preserve what we think doesn't have a lot of value. Great. I speak with a lot of women who struggle a lot in self-care practices. They just go and probably meant to. They just go for their day and take care of a lot of other people, and um, and there is no time for themselves. There is no time to be with themselves as well, which of course can be also a strategy to flee and not to see some parts of us. Thank you for sharing. So I would like you to take the last time that it happened, that you brought to awareness the fact that you were not respecting your boundary, or that there was some boundary not being respected somehow. So when was the last time that it happened? And I will just see in the chat, once you have the example, I would like for you to give me any kind of signal, yes, okay, or thumb up, anything, so that we are all at the same page. So taking a pretty recent example is a good option. Yeah, so then you can take the last time that it happened, that you found yourself giving your power to other people. It needs to be pretty present for you. You need to be pretty active. I'll just let you find the example. And I cannot see you, so if you do like this, I won't see you. So if you can write in the chat, thank you. Okay. Okay, maybe you have also a paper and a pen, so just write down not the details, but the SUD. Yeah, yeah. Okay, then you can take it. Um, there is a comment over caring for my partner. You can take the last time that it happened. Okay, it definitely can be an automatic behavior for sure. Just let's take the last time that it happened. I will explain what SUD stands for. So I will guide you and connect with the part that feels impossible to set a boundary, or of the part that is for whom it is a very normal behavior to overcare or to just give power away, etc. And then you will measure your SUD. SUD stands for subject units of distress. It's just a way to measure the intensity of the reaction of what you are experiencing. So from 0 to 10, 0 being I feel completely calm, and 10 being uh, the highest intensity of distress. And then we will apply the logosynthesis basic procedure. Okay, so I guess you're ready. I will ask you to close your eyes and take 2 or 3 deep breaths and connect. So, to this example that you have chosen 2 minutes ago, and to be there. So, you can associate yourself completely to this time and space. If it was yesterday evening, then you are yesterday evening, and you hear what you hear, you feel what you feel, you see what you see. And this is the time, this is really the moments where you realize that you are not setting a healthy boundary for yourself or for somebody else. And I want you to observe what is happening inside. How are you feeling? What type of emotions are there? Where in your body are you feeling some kind of maybe tension, a weight? Where is the contraction in your body, if there is contraction? Or where do you feel this uneasiness about not having set the boundary, which would be correct for you? Where do you perceive the conflict, the contrast? And you might think that it is about somebody specific in your life, but I really invite you to bring your attention and observation inside of yourself and invite the parts of you that feels the way you feel right now. The part of you that feels maybe powerless, maybe less than, disconnected, not appreciated. This part that thinks that in order to be appreciated, she needs to give her power away. So you can connect with this part. You can do that by connecting to a part of your body. If this part shows up in a specific part of your body. And then I will ask to this part of you What is she reacting to? It can be the image of a face, of a look. It can be a sentence, words that she heard again and again. It can be a scene that happened in a specific time of her life. Or it can be just a perception. It can be the perception of being judged or being rejected somehow. You can just focus on this perception. It also can be an imaginary scenario where if she does draw a boundary, something very bad would happen. What is it for this part right now for you? How does she know that she cannot set a healthy boundary? And when you find this representation, to which she is reacting, I'll give you some other seconds and then we can pronounce the logosynthesis sentences together. Okay, let's go. I retrieve all of my energy bound up in this representation, and I take it to the right place in myself. I remove all non-me energy connected to this representation or perception. From all of my cells, from all of my bodies, and from all of my personal space. And I send it to where it truly belongs. And we can repeat the third sentence. I retrieve all of my energy, bound up in all of my reactions to this representation or perception. And I take it to the right place in myself. You can have some water when you think it's done. So the key benefits of logosynthesis here are it is possible to work directly with split parts. It's something that I do very often because it allows us to go directly to, instead of going from traumatic event to traumatic events, you can just go to the parts. Of course, it depends also on the process of the person in question, but you can have direct access to bound energy and you can have direct resolution of split energy, and you can do it yourself pretty easily, actually. So if you are maybe considering joining a self-coaching class, go for it because yeah, it can really change your life. So I'm ready for some Q&A if you wish. We do have 1 minute left. Okay. What do you do with the future integrations? I'm not sure I understand your question, Krista. Can you please rephrase it?
Hmm.
You're welcome. So in the meanwhile, I can answer Reginald. How many runs do one do? It depends. If this SUD is still high, or at least not to where you want it to be, which is 0 or 1, you might have another representation coming up from the first sequence. Then you would do a round on that perception too until the SUD, until you're calm, basically until you feel well. Okay, so you would use whatever changes in the representation that you are dealing with. Phase of the sentences on the worksheet. You mean the fourth sentence?
No,
The
Willem calls it the integration phase.
mm, yeah.
Because now I have had a memory of the past and I don't know how to close up with this. Do you?
Well, yeah. Okay, so you had the sentences on this memory,
Yes.
and how did it change?
Well, the memory changed, but the subject was something else. So
Yes, that's not a problem per se because you worked with a part that was, you know, fixed in that time space. So
okay.
once that is resolved, of course you can do a visualization or whatever, but once that part is resolved, then it's resolved.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Just have one last question slide. Okay, we're going to be back in 60 seconds. For all logosynthesis trainings and seminars, you can go on the Logosynthesis International website. Here, you can reach out to me if you want to work more on this or on other subjects. My focus are life transition in crisis, reconnection with self and your gifts. Go to emotional independence and relationships, and meaningful life and decision making. So, in order to have a really sustainable change, working on self-esteem and of course, healthy boundaries is essential. I want to thank you for you being here and participating. It was the first presentation on Logosynthesis Day for me, so thanks a lot for coming, for your trust, and I hope you enjoyed that. And